Undaodu. I want to tell you a story of Undaodu. On 3/15/15, he was in Silicon Valley, staying at a found up house that he was pioneering. He had partnered with a hacker house, and the guy was like, yeah, sure. And for about 3 months, he was helping with his hacker house. And at the same time, he was trying to launch found ups. And he would find his way into 500 startups, and him and his crazy friend Chris were going around. And I've got the videos on my iPad here. I'm gonna start uploading them. They're really funny. Well, we went to Sequoia Capital. He did, right, and it was completely empty. And all the cars, we went in and we're like walking around. The whole place was just unlocked, wide open, no one around. It was just the craziest thing. And it's like really kind of shallow. And we were just walking around all of Sequoia Capital. Well, after a while, we were like, well, let's just leave. There's no one here. And we walked out and we saw this older gentleman. And he had kind of a beard. And he was just, just like, obviously, this guy was important, right? The moment I saw him, he was a Sahdu, right? I just sensed it. And when I saw him, I go, oh, hi, how you doing? I was wondering, there's no one here. And he said, the whole team is in Hong Kong. They're doing an event. He says, oh, I don't do that anymore. And I go, well, I'm Michael Trout. He goes, nice to meet you. I'm Bill. I can't remember Bill's last name. He's a Sahdu, the highest level. And right there in the parking lot at Sequoia Capital, Undaodu unleashed his best elevator pitch as Bill was getting in the car. And Bill, I could tell, kind of grasped something. He goes, that is really interesting. And in a way, he's like, here's my card. He gave me his card. I used to carry it around all the time. And he left and I left. Well, Sequoia Capital is a 900-pound gorilla, and they are, the lead coin purchaser of Bitclout. I know in my heart that the only reason why Sequoia Capital is at that table is because Undaodu was infused into Bill. And years later, that seed would germinate, right? As I talked about the need. And ultimately, Sahdu Bill, wherever you are, if you're watching this or if you've moved on, I don't know, it's been 6 years. His gift to me was by backing I can never say Bitclout. It's horrible. Bitclout. I'm just like clout and bit just don't want to go together. Because this Bitclout kills capitalism, right? And let me explain. Before you're like, oh, what's wrong with capitalism, right? Capitalism, when I say capitalism, I'm really referring to the 15th century economic model launched out of Italy that we're still using today. A model that ultimately treats our planet as infinite and is the root cause of every single crisis facing the planet. And that's kind of what I was telling Bill, unless we change this, we can't change anything. The blockchain allows us to change this code, as I told Bill, right? And ultimately, this code can change the way capitalism works. And in doing so, end this insane idea that we have infinite coffee that we drink every morning, right? Your coffee isn't infinite. So why do you have a business model that treats it that it is? And a business model that treats like all these problems as externalities, the cost of doing business. So how does Bitclout kill capitalism? Because it allows me to use it as a validation, and it allows me to use their code to complete it for my work. You see, Bitclout is only the first 3 parts. There's no DAO connection. There's no other parts. It's just this little part right here. If you look at my circle, right, well, it's not this one, but it is idea. In this case, a Twitter account is the token. It is validate. In this case, will someone put tokens in it, and it is fund. In the process of that, it goes up in value, right? It's passive crowdfunding, as I put it. So they have passive crowdfunding. So someone go in there, get going, and they can basically passively crowdfund, right, funds. And so what this framework is missing is, I'm going to describe it. So this framework also has seen over around 3,500 Bitcoin has gone through this. 3,500 and in a month or less than a month, 3,500 Bitcoin has just been thrown into this platform, right? The people are going just crazy for it. So imagine every Bitcoin that goes into a smart DAO. A smart DAO is not that difficult. It's an autonomous DAO that creates every smartphone becomes a distributed network, and the smart DAO uses the processing power, right, the supercomputer that we have in here, to run this little low power wallet, virtual wallet that it governs. And ultimately, it is constantly, all the keys are encrypted, moving back and forth to it, okay? And there's really no way to break the encryption, right? Until an order comes from the hard code, and from the members of it, and until there's 1 million members, the hard code won't even listen. So all of Bitcoin flowing into Bitclout, imagine it, or Bitclout, imagine it flows into this. And it tracks it. So the Bitcoin came through me, it has my private key, and it knows where it came from. And just like on Nexo or BlockFi or anything else, the smart DAO pays out a dividend, to that person, a 6% daily interest dividend out of that Bitcoin. Bitcoin never leaves the system. It flows in, it never flows out, right? It's stored. In a way, think of the smart DAO is the Fort Knox of Bitcoin, and it is a distributed Fort Knox because it exists in everyone that's running, the millions of people running it on their smart device. Okay, so you have smartphones, smart DAO. It is AI. It's not just smart contracts. It's actually AI driven. The AI is constantly looking for attacks, making for it, and it pays a dividend. So and also that dividend is paid out in what? In let's say Bitclouts, right? So it gets paid out in Bitclouts or whatever, right? So so that framework, and I'm just going to talk that a little bit, right? What does that do? All of a sudden, you have 3,000 Bitcoin in there. They're paying a dividend out to everyone who put who's contributing, plus playing on the platform. The fund also acts as backed. So all the tokens on there are backed by the fund. It's kind of like an escrow to say they have value. And it rewards them on the platform token, whatever it is. It could be Fox, found up coins, or it could be, BitBlocks, but whatever it is, Bitclouts, right? Horrible name. So Bitclout. So because of Sakai, so what's going to happen, right? So these DAOs, okay, that's one thing. These DAOs ultimately will become and replace the corporation, because what they have proven is we don't need, if Sequoia Capital and their investors can launch this project without even a DAO or anything, then we can too. And imagine now that you have this framework, and there's a whole bunch of other things. So, for example, one of the things is Fux for code, right? So that's my found up coins, right? Fux for code. So Fux for code is a simple little framework which came out of them, inspired it. So Fux for code works like this. That same little noodle has an API that plugs into GitHub, and this little API is, so it's going to look at all the open source code, look for the source of the open source code, and then pay them out fucks, right? Found up coins, right? So here's your fucks. Thanks for it. It's going to take how much code is in there based on how much in issue it out, right? Autonomously. So imagine all the time, just like you have now these AI searching for copyright, you have AI looking for open source and then paying out every developer with fucks, right? Fucks for code. So fucks for code is coming. Thanks for their little handshake thing. And the way it works is really simple. If it finds it, it sends an email to that GitHub, right? It says with their private key, and say, please send me this back with their public key, and it says, please send back with your public key, and then it verifies it. When it gets it says, okay, I'm signing it over, and the guy will make up their private key, and they make a wallet, right? So now we've just a simple way to pay for open source development, no matter what it is, where it is, right? So I envision it's like any code we use. If that code was written a decade ago, and that count is still there, the guy's retired, he's going to get fucks for his code that he wrote so long ago. And on that, so that's how open source developers will be paid, right, on the platform. And the beautiful thing is that I'm launching something very different than Bitclout, right? FoundUps is actually a really fun place where it's all about being good, about communicating in a really in a beneficial way. So all of the folks who care about the planet, who aren't the ones that's running after Lambo, they can stay on their uns. That's a thing for uns. But us DAOs and Doos, it's a platform DAOs and Doos, right? DAOs and Doos. Be on it, and I'll have a mock-up of it. So I just want to thank it's over, because you have to understand the exponential growth of this open source software. Anyone's going to be able to launch it. There'll be video, there'll be dating, all of them are going to work the same way, where people come in, they're storing it, all these scars, I'm going to spit on you, all these DAOs will be interconnected together. And what happens is, all this Bitcoin that was stolen by the people, right? Satoshi wanted Bitcoin to be for the folks, right? And all this Bitcoin is going to be brought back into the system, right? And held as the Bitcoin standard, or the Bitcoin Global Reserve Fund, right? For backing all the tokens out there and making them stable coins that come out of our different platforms. So tokens are ubiquitous, but they're based on what we have in it. These are not infinite. Imagine tokens that actually melt, right? They melt. Have you heard of a melting token? Well, they're coming. Melting tokens are coming. A melting token is one you can't hoard and store. You have to use, or it loses value, right? The idea that tokens end, right? They're not infinite. They end and they become part of a community, right? The idea of things constantly growing. So, yeah. Thanks, Bill. I hope you're okay. I'd love to talk to you. I have a video on Facebook of me. I was much younger then. And it was just 5 years ago. Seems like a decade ago. And it was such a pleasure meeting you. Sahdu Bill. Sahdu Bill. Undaodu, 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 Undaodu. Sing to you. Thank you, Bill.